Hi folks, I'm Mary with Oakland County Parks and Recreation's Nature Education Team. Each week we're going to be releasing a video, craft, and activity on a nature topic. Today's topic is baby animals, and we'll be learning about that with myself and Miss Sarah. Let's hop to it.
Hi everyone, my name is Miss Sarah and I'm with Oakland County Parks and Recreation here today to talk to you about different baby animals. So some baby animals are born coming out looking like a baby, right? Others come out inside an egg. Two different kinds, both generally really cute. So first of all, we're going to talk about babies that come out looking like a baby. One example is a fawn. They have these beautiful spots, our white-tailed deer fawn. You may have seen one in your yard recently like I have, or maybe in a park nearby. Fawns, when they come out, obviously they are very small. They're maybe about the size of a grown man's foot, and they just kind of curl up in the grass and kind of hang out waiting for mom. They have this dappled pattern on them because it helps them hide in the shade of grass where their mom hides them and has them stay for when she comes back to take care of them. Another example of a baby animal would be a cottontail rabbit. Cottontail rabbits are very small and actually naked with eyes closed when they're born, but they are clearly babies nonetheless, right? Another animal that might be unexpected that has live birth is actually a garter snake. So when you think of most reptiles or amphibians, you'd think of them having a little hole in the ground where they would be laying their eggs, but not so with the garter snake. They actually have their eggs internally. The eggs hatch internally, and then the snakes emerge from the mother, born and ready to go. Unlike the garter snake, most other reptiles, fish, amphibians, and also all birds do lay eggs. This here is an emu egg from one of our largest birds. Kind of a beautiful color there. So an example of one of our native Michigan snakes that would lay eggs would be a fox snake. This is a beautiful snake. It does look slightly like our only venomous snake, the eastern Massasauga rattlesnake, but it's got a beautiful brownish spotted pattern on it, kind of colored like a fox, hence its namesake. Also, if you had watched our episode from last week, you would know that toads and other amphibians also lay eggs. Amphibians do lay their eggs in water because their eggs don't have a hard protective shell like bird or most reptile eggs would. So the water actually helps hydrate and protect them. We also have, probably one you're very familiar with, a robin. So robins and other birds do lay eggs, of course. Birds build a nest to hold their eggs. Sometimes a nest might look like a shallow little sandy area scratched out of the ground, or a little impression in the gravel in your parking lot in the example of a killdeer. You might see those around construction sites. But a robin does lay eggs in a nest that is made of mud and grass. So one fun thing, if you have some kids there that want to do an example of building a robin's nest, we can do that together. So robins have to carry the mud to the nest, but how do they do that? They don't have hands, right? So they have to use their beak and their feet. So we're going to make our robin beak, slurp up some mud, we're going to fly to our nest, spit it out, and now we got to stomp. You got to stomp your feet and kind of wiggle, do a little circle. All right, and there we are, our beautiful robin nest. And then of course they lay some eggs inside. They're usually a beautiful sky blue color. So as you're probably aware, robins do take care of their babies, right? Most birds, if not all birds, have to care for their babies once they've hatched, so they need to bring them food. Some babies are more capable of taking care of themselves than others, though. So robin babies are born blind, naked, and helpless. They rely on their mother for literally everything. She needs to keep them warm, feed them, clean up after them, so removing any kind of messes that they might make in the nest. And human mothers, I'm sure you're aware of all of those needs too, and fathers too. Gotta keep fathers in there. All right, so in the scientific world, we call that altricial. So when babies are born that are really not capable of taking care of themselves, they're very underdeveloped, that's called altricial. As opposed to, if you think about a duck baby, think of a fuzzy little yellow duckling, right? Those ducks, when they hatch, their eyes are open, they're moving around, they've got that nice downy feathers, and they're able to swim very soon after they're born. They don't really necessarily even need their parents to teach them to swim, right? So they're off in the water ready to go. They're much more capable of fending for themselves in the wild, though they still need to be cared for by their parents. Other animals that lay eggs, however, don't take care of their babies at all. That's just how nature works. So if we pull out our from the box turtle here, Box turtles do lay their eggs in a little depression in the ground, bury them, and just kind of take off. And so when the babies hatch, they're like a very miniature version of the adult. They're able to crawl around, find their own food, and hopefully fend for themselves in the wild. So thank you for coming to join me today to hear about some baby animals, and I'll turn it over to my friend Mary.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about what to do if you find a baby animal out in your yard. Usually we get a ton of calls this time of year at the Nature Center asking for how to help baby animals that people might find. And since we're not here at the Nature Center right now to be able to answer those calls, we wanted to give you a little bit of information. So first we wanted to let you know that most nature centers are in this area do not have a license for baby birds, mammals, and things like that. So by law, we can't take them. So if you're calling for us to take an animal, we can maybe give you some ideas of where to go, but we can't take it ourselves. The same with reptiles and amphibians. A lot of us do have a license to keep those, but we can't take in injured ones or additional ones because we don't have the staff time to help treat their injuries, and we don't have a place to quarantine them away from our animals. They could introduce germs and diseases to our animals that could destroy our captive collections. So we can't take those in either. And we'll have some resources in this video too of what you can do with them. So next we need to consider what to do if you find a baby animal in your yard. The first thing you need to look at is if the baby animal needs help at all. A lot of baby animals are born ready to go and find their own food, water, and shelter all for themselves. They're not like baby humans, and they take a lot less time to develop those skills. So usually the best parents for baby animals are their own moms and dads. So we want to make sure we're not unnecessarily taking them from the wild. The most common questions we get here at the Nature Center are about birds, bunnies, and fawns. So I'm going to go through each of those next, just to let you know what to do and what to look for to see if those baby animals really need your help. First, we're going to talk about baby birds. So nests can get blown down and babies can fall out of nests. So these are a common one you might find around your yard. The first thing you need to do is look and just observe for a little while and see if mom or dad is in the area feeding the baby. Next, if you don't see anybody around, or if the baby doesn't have a lot of feathers and its eyes aren't open yet, then you'll try and locate the nest where the baby is from and try and put it back in that nest. If you can't find the nest or it's really high in the tree, you can put the baby in a container with some sticks and grass and put it in a high branch in a tree, like where you can reach, or in a shrub, and hopefully that mom will continue to come down and care for that baby. If the baby has its eyes open and it's hopping around, it's flying a little from branch to branch, we call that a fledgling. And so those are babies who have left the nest, and mom and dad are still around helping to take care of it, but it really doesn't need our help. The best thing to do is just leave it in the wild, and mom will continue to help that baby until it's ready to be independent. So next we're going to talk about bunnies, or cottontail rabbits, whichever you like to call them. So baby bunnies are born into a nest, and rabbits in this area of the United States dig a little depression, and then they fill that with fur and grass and other things. So be careful, they might be hidden in the grass in your yard. You want to make sure if you find a baby rabbit nest that you give it a wide berth when you mow the lawn. The bunnies or kits inside, the mom will feed 1 to 2 times a day. So it might look like the nest is abandoned, but typically she'll come around dawn and dusk and feed them. If you really think they are abandoned, take a closer look. And if their eyes are open and they're hopping around outside of that nest, they're probably old enough to be on their own. We want to make sure that we don't take baby bunnies out of the wild unless we're absolutely 100% certain that they are abandoned, because even experienced rehabilitators do not have a high success rate with hand feeding and hand raising baby rabbits. If you see some outside and they're running around and ready to go, they're probably old enough to be by themselves. Next, we'd like to talk about white-tailed deer. Fawns are typically left by their moms in one area for an extended period of time. Just like with the bunnies, mom comes back a couple times a day to feed them, and she's usually not that far away. If you see one out somewhere in your yard, just watch and see if mom comes back. Fawns are born with very little scent and a really great camouflage, and this helps keep them safe from predators like coyotes and other things that might find them. The more mom comes back to the fawn, the more likely she is to lead a predator to its location. That's why she's not there very much. So if you see a fawn laying in one spot for more than a day, you might want to take a peek and see if it needs help. Some signs that it needs help are that its ears are really curling, its fur looks very rough, and its eyes are starting to dull. These are signs of dehydration and that the fawn might need help. If the ears are just straight and it looks perky but is laying very still, that means that the fawn is A-okay and it's fine on its own. If you've identified a baby animal in your yard that needs help, you can refer to the DNR's Wildlife Rehabilitators list. This is a list of individuals who have been trained and licensed to take care of baby animals and injured wildlife. These usually are private individuals, so they may be pretty busy this time of year with baby bunnies, birds, and fawns. So they'll probably have some questions for you as to the condition of the animal, how long it's been around, the species, and some other things to determine if it really needs their help or if it is something that can be left in the wild. You may have to drive quite a ways to find one of these folks. There's not one in every county or anything that takes care of animals. So just know that you might have a little bit of a haul to get there. Thank you so much for caring for the baby animals and wildlife in your own backyard.
So now let's talk about some things that you can do to help wildlife in your own yard. One of the most basic things you can do is to help provide a meal to a baby animal, and that doesn't mean putting out your scraps of food for them to eat. What that means is planting native plants, so plants that would naturally be growing in Michigan, because those plants are going to attract insects. The insects will then provide food for many baby animals, especially birds, reptiles, and amphibians in your area. Another thing you can do is make sure that you have a good fresh source of water. You don't want to be leaving the water out where it's going to be growing algae and becoming infested with mosquito larvae. You wouldn't want that for yourself either, so change the water. You also want to make sure that you keep your pets indoors, or that you are keeping an eye on them once they are out in your yard. We don't want pets going up and harassing wildlife or destroying nests or anything like that. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on Fido. And you also want to keep in mind that if you have a pet that you no longer want, that you don't go in and put that somewhere out in the wild. I know that it could be, you might see a lake that looks really like a great habitat for your goldfish. But what happens is the goldfish start multiplying in the pond, and they're actually out competing some of our native species. So we want to responsibly rehome our pets instead. Other things you can do are help providing homes for baby animals. So this is a nest box right here that a bluebird or a tree swallow or other cavity dweller might be able to go in and make a nest. So you can put these sorts of things up around your yard. You can also help to protect turtle eggs by getting a turtle fence that can go around and cover the area where the mother turtle has buried her eggs, and that'll keep potential predators such as raccoons out and keep those eggs safe. In general, good thing to keep in mind is to don't disturb baby animal nests, right? So if you see a rabbit nest in your yard or there's a bird nest, you don't want to be, lifting it up to see the babies inside or crawling up and really peering in. And we want to make sure that those animals have their space and that the parents aren't stressed out. So keep these things in mind and you'll be doing great for baby animals.
Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to share your photos and experiences with baby animals in the comments below. Check out our social media for upcoming videos, and make sure you head over to our website to see Park and Nature Center hours, amenities, and any programs we have coming up in the near future. Stay safe, get outside, and join us next time.